Before this match, no one in the whole world was guessing who would win it, but the whole world was guessing how Hungary would win by how many goals. This match was the final match of the 5th edition of the 1954 World Cup held in Switzerland. This match was between Hungary and West Germany. Why was the whole world expecting Hungary to win with a big score? Because this team had not been defeated for 32 consecutive matches. This team had not been defeated since 1950. This team is the one that won the gold medal in the Olympic Games held in Helsingki in 1952. This team is the only team from outside the British Isles that was able to defeat England in Wembley Stadium 6-3 in the match that the English newspapers called, at the time, the match of the century. When they played England again in the Hungarian capital, Budapest, they defeated them again, but by 7-1. At the time, the English team believed that they are the masters of world football. This team in the semi-finals of this tournament defeated Uruguay, the champion of the previous edition of the World Cup in Brazil 1950, and broke the streak of consecutive victories for Uruguay, which had continued since 1924 with 21 matches without defeat. This team is the golden team of Hungary, the generation of Puskás, Hidegkudi and Kochis. It is one of the strongest teams that participated in the World Cup, if not the strongest ever. As for the West German team, it qualified for this tournament after the suspension imposed on it by FIFA was lifted, preventing it from participating in the previous World Cup, the 1950 tournament, due to Germany's role in World War II. The German team was a group of amateurs playing local tournaments because the German Bundesliga had not yet begun. The German league began in 1963, and the Germans were trying to regain confidence, pride and national pride after their defeat and surrender during World War II. In the group stage, the two teams were in the same group, Group 2, with South Korea and Turkey. FIFA had ranked Hungary and Turkey in the first level, and South Korea and Germany in the second level. The tournament system at that time was that teams of the same ranking could not play against each other. Hungary faced South Korea and won 9-0, and defeated Germany 8-3. In this match, Puskás suffered an ankle injury, which prevented him from participating in the next two matches. Hungary qualified at the top of the group with 4 points, because a win at that time was counted as 2 points, not 3 as it is now. As for Germany, in the group stage, it faced Turkey and defeated it 4-1, and it faced Hungary, as we said, and they were defeated 3-8. In this match, the German coach, Sepp Herberger, preferred to play with substitutes and not with the main lineup for 2 reasons. The first reason was so that his players would not be affected by the possible heavy defeat against the Hungarians, and the second because the tournament system was a system at that time. The tournament was in the quarterfinals, with the winners of the first 2 groups facing each other, and the winners of the second 2 groups facing each other. In the semifinals, the winners of the first 2 groups faced each other, and the winners of the second 2 groups faced each other. This made the path of the second-place team easier, so the German coach preferred to qualify in second place. However, in order to qualify in second place, he had to play a playoff match with the Turkish team, because at that time the goal difference and direct confrontations regulations were not applied. The Turkish team at that time defeated South Korea 7-0 and was defeated by the Germans 4-1, meaning they won 1 match and lost 1 match, just like the Germans, meaning each of them had 2 points. So they played a playoff match, in which Germany won 7-2, and Germany qualified for the quarterfinals in second place. Of course, the quarterfinals, because at that time there was no round of 16 yet. In the quarterfinals, and in the absence of the team's star, Puskás, the Hungarians faced the team that came first in the first group, and it was the Brazilian team, which came in the second place in the previous World Cup, the 1950 World Cup, and the Hungarians defeated them 4-2. Brazil participated in this tournament for the first time with the current uniform, which is the yellow shirt and blue shorts. Their uniform before that was a white shirt and white shorts, and they decided to change it after the famous defeat of the Maracana against Uruguay in the final of the previous World Cup, which is 1950. This match is called the Battle of Bern because it was a very violent match, and a fight broke out between the players during the match, and 3 players were sent off, 2 Brazilians and 1 Hungarian. After the match, a fight broke out on the field, and this fight extended to the locker room. Puskas came down to the field and threw a bottle that hit the face of the Brazilian playmaker João Baptistero. As for the Brazilian coach, Zez Moreira, he threw his shoe at the trainer Gustavo Sebes, and this caused a deep wound that needed to be treated with stitches. 2 policemen became injured, and after all that happened, FIFA was satisfied with issuing a warning to the 2 teams without suspending any player or administrator and left the issue of punishment to the federation of the 2 countries. They did nothing. As for West Germany, in the quarterfinals, they met Yugoslavia, which was second in the first group, and defeated them 2-0. This Yugoslav team was the silver medalist at the London Olympics in 1948 and also the silver medalist at the 1952 Helsinki Olympics. In the semifinals, in the absence of Puskas, Hungary faced Uruguay, the defending champions of the previous tournament. After the regular time ended in a 2-2 draw, extra time was played in which the Hungarian team scored 2 goals for Kochies. The match ended with Hungary winning 4-2. As for Germany, in the semifinals, they faced Austria and beat them 6-1. Before the final match, Hungary played 2 very difficult matches, which were the Brazil match and the Uruguay match, unlike the German team, which had an easier path but played an extra match. But before we talk about the match, we will talk about Puskas. Puskas is one of the best players who played football in history and is always present in any classification of the top 10 players of the 20th century. He scored 802 goals in 792 official matches throughout his career. He won the gold medal with the Hungarian team at the 1952 Helsinki Olympics and first place in the Central European Championship in 1953, and his dream was to win the World Cup because it was the only championship he had not won because at that time there was no Euro or FIFA Confederations Cup. On July 4, 1954, at the Wankdorf Stadium in the Swiss capital, Bern, and under the leadership of the English referee William Ling and in the presence of 62,500 fans, and for the first time with a television broadcast of the World Cup final and under light rain, the final match of the 5th edition of the World Cup was held. Puskas entered the field as captain of the Hungarian national team, and he had not yet fully recovered from his ankle injury. With light rain falling, the match began, and in the 6th minute of the first half, the legendary player Puskas scored the first goal for the Hungarians. In the 8th minute, his colleague Zoltán Zabor added the second goal for Hungary, and it became clear that Hungary would end this match with a big victory. But in the 10th minute, the German player Max Morlock scored the first goal for the Germans. And in the 19th minute, German player Helmut Rahn scored the equalizer after his teammate Hans Schäfer obstructed the Hungarian goalkeeper Ula Grosics, so the ball passed to Rahn, who scored the goal. The first half ended in a 2-2 draw after the brilliance of the German goalkeeper Toni Turek in stopping the Hungarian balls. It was clearly unlucky for the Hungarian team. Between the 2 halves, the rain fell heavily, and the field turned into pools of water and mud. The Germans changed the nails of their shoes, or the iron protrusions, which are the studs, and replaced them with longer studs. The idea of these studs was invented by the German owner and founder of Adidas, Adolf Dassler, or Adi Dassler, who knew that there was heavy rain falling in Switzerland at that time, so he invented a shoe sole that allowed them to change the studs, which enabled them to play more easily on the bad pitch, unlike the Hungarian team. In the second half, the brilliance of the German goalkeeper continued, and the unluckiness of the Hungarian attackers. In the 84th minute, from a shot by the attacker German Helmut Rahn scored the winning goal for Germany, to the astonishment and amazement of everyone present in the stadium, even the Germans themselves. In the 87th minute, Puskas scored a goal for Hungary, but the English referee Ling ruled it out for offside, although many observers said he was not offside, including the German substitute player Alfred Pfaff. This ruled-out goal is still controversial to this day. The Hungarian team continued its fierce attack on the German team, but the brilliance of the German goalkeeper Toni Turek prevented the Hungarians from scoring any goals. In the last minute, the referee did not award a penalty kick in favor of the Hungarian player Kochies. Finally, in front of the shocked fans, the referee blew his whistle, announcing West Germany's victory 3-2 and its victory in the World Cup for the first time in its history in a match called the Miracle of Bern. The saying that the impossible is not Germany appeared, and Puskas' dream of winning the World Cup evaporated. In a sporting spirit, here is the legend Puskas, the team captain. German Friedrich Walter, the German commentator, said during the celebrations that Germany had become something again. The Germans celebrated their victory and received their team in the Bavarian capital, Munich, on a day that the authorities granted a holiday to factories, banks and schools to give the Germans a chance to celebrate their team and restore part of their lost dignity. As for the Hungarians, the defeat was a disaster for them. They talked about the deliberate refereeing errors, such as counting the second goal for the Germans despite the clear obstruction of the Hungarian goalkeeper, cancelling Puska's goal in the 87th minute, and not counting a penalty kick for the Hungarian coaches. What's more, the Hungarians accused the Germans of being drugged during the halftime break, and the symptoms of this appeared on the German team players after the match, because the substance they were injected with caused yellowing of the eyes and skin. Although the Golden Hungarian team did not win this championship, the record numbers that he achieved it in this tournament, and it still holds up until now. These records are that he holds the record for the team that scored the most goals in a single tournament with 27 goals, and he holds the record for the highest average goal scoring rate in a single tournament with an average of 5.4 goals per match. One of the funny things about this tournament is that German striker Helmut Rahn, who scored 2 goals in the final, including the winning goal, had not been called up to play for the national team before the tournament, but after the Germans' first match against Turkey, which they won by 4-1. German coach Sepp Herberger was not satisfied with his defensive players' performance and saw that his team needed to increase its offensive strength, so he sent for him. This tournament holds the record for the highest scoring match in the history of the World Cup with 12 goals, which is the match between Austria and Switzerland, which ended with a score of 7-5 in favor of Austria. This tournament was the first World Cup to be broadcast on television. The sad thing is that this tournament was the last tournament attended by Jules Rimet, the president of the International Federation of Association Football and the one whose idea initiated the World Cup, because he died 2 years after this tournament. In 2016, the BBC chose this Hungarian team as the best team in the history of football at all, and after the championship continued the victories of the terrifying Hungarian team, which from the year 50 to the year 56 played 69 matches, won 58, tied in 10 and lost 1 match, which is the match we are talking about today. In the year 56, the Hungarian Revolution broke out against the communist rule there, but the Soviets intervened and the Soviet army stormed Hungary to suppress the revolution. At that time, Puskás and his colleagues were playing a match with their team, Budapest Honvéd FC, outside Hungary. Many of them preferred not to return to Hungary again and summoned their families from Hungary. The team dispersed throughout Europe. UEFA issued a decision that everyone who refused to return to his team would be suspended for 2 years, and Puskás was among them. Thus, the era of the golden team for the Hungarian team ended and history drew the curtain on the strongest team ever. As for Puskás, he went to Spain and played with the Espanyol team in unofficial matches. When the suspension expired, in 1958, Puskás had reached 31 years of age and he was overweight, but Santiago Bernabéu, the most famous and greatest president of the royal team, Real Madrid, signed him and included him in the golden team of Real Madrid. He formed with the Argentine Alfredo Di Stefano one of the best duos in the history of football and won 6 consecutive league titles and 3 European Champions League titles in 1959, 1960 and 1966. In 1961, he got Spanish citizenship and played for the Spanish national team. His dream of winning the World Cup was renewed for the second time, and he participated in the 1962 World Cup as part of the Spanish national team. However, Puskás 1962 is not the same as Puskás 1954. He was 35 years old at the time and played in the group stage with the Spanish national team in 3 matches, and did not score any goals. The Spanish national team was eliminated in the first round and the dream of winning the World Cup was shattered forever. Puskás became the uncrowned king.